Hello everyone, this is the Casual Fan. The 2022 F1 season is on the doorsteps now, and I felt this was a perfect time to give my views on arguably the most important rivalry in the sport. Yes, you have that correct. I'm talking about the intra-team rivalries for the 2022 season. There is this famous saying that in Formula 1, the first person that you have to beat is your teammate. While this might certainly be a cakewalk for quite a few drivers, well, let's face it, at Red Bull we are hardly going to see too much of a challenge. There are still some spicy battles that are worth keeping an eye on this season. Okay, now before we proceed, please hit that subscribe button and support the channel. We are at around 400 subscribers right now, and it would be a huge boost for me if we can increase this number. Having said that, let's jump straight to it and make our predictions on who we think is going to have the upper hand in the battle of the teammates. First up, we have the teammate battle at Haas between Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen, and this is purely a battle between youth and experience. Magnussen is bringing with himself a ton of experience not only in F1 but at Haas as well. The last few years at Haas did not paint Magnussen in a good light, but it had a lot more to do with the car than the driver. Talking about Kevin, he is a solid performer and should be able to extract a lot more from that Haas than what Nikita Mazepin was eventually going to do. On the other hand, we have Mick Schumacher. Mick did have a decent first season with Haas, and if we ignore the crashes that Mick inevitably had in that Haas, that was a pretty good season. In his second season in F1, Mick is now well entrenched within the team and finally has a suitable benchmark to compare himself with. If we compare the two drivers, then while Magnussen does hold the edge over Mick in terms of experience, I do feel that Mick, a former Formula 2 and Formula 3 champion, is at the least a good enough talent to beat Magnussen. I don't think he will blow the doors off his teammate and dominate him like he did to Mazepin last year, but overall I do feel Mick Schumacher beats Kevin Magnussen. At Alfa Romeo, we have two drivers on contrasting career trajectories. On one side, we have Bottas, who is coming down from the high of driving for Mercedes. On the other, we have Zhou making his debut in Formula 1. Not many people know much about Zhou and have already tagged him as a pay driver. However, if someone has followed Formula 2, then you will see that the Chinese driver is no slouch. He has gone up against drivers like Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda and beaten them on merit on multiple occasions. However, where Zhou lacks is his inability to stay consistent, because of which he didn't win a title in the junior categories, although he was able to notch a few wins here and there. Talking about Bottas, I think it's fair to say that the new environment is going to be a shock to him. However, at the same time, with Lewis not in the other car, he gets an opportunity to showcase his skill against a much lower benchmark. During the season, when the two drivers go head to head, while I do expect Zhou to surprise Bottas a few times, overall, Bottas will hold a definitive edge and establish himself inside the team as the true leader. At Williams, Alex Albon is replacing his friend George Russell, and it's going to be a very young combination of Albon and Latifi, with both the drivers not having too many seasons under their belt. Talking about Albon, this is his season to shine and prove himself. He was outscored by Kvyat at Toro Rosso, then he was completely thrashed by Max Verstappen at Red Bull. Now at Williams, he has the opportunity to express himself and show what kind of talent he is. For Latifi, this season is important for him to establish himself within the team. For once, a very difficult benchmark in the form of George Russell is out of the picture, and Latifi will be looking forward to taking on Albon and trying to take over the role of the lead driver within the team. Now, talking about the head-to-head, then if we have to compare, I guess Albon does seem to hold the edge. Both were teammates in the same car in Formula 2 and Albon held the edge. Even in F1, Latifi getting so comprehensively outpaced speaks volumes of Russell, but it also indicates an intrinsic lack of speed in qualifying. For this season, although I don't expect Albon to dominate Latifi like Russell did, I do expect the Red Bull Academy driver to beat him. Now, moving to Aston Martin, then this one is surely going to be a high stakes battle. Both the drivers have something to prove this season, with Vettel keen to show that he can dominate his less fancy teammate, just like a 4-time world champion should. While Stroll will be looking to prove himself and show to the world that he's not only on the grid because of his father's money, but also because of the talent that he possesses. Vettel had a rocky start at Aston Martin last season, but as the season progressed, he was slowly able to establish himself within the team and became more and more comfortable. Is he the same driver that romped to 4 titles at Red Bull? I am inclined towards saying no to that, because it does appear that he has lost a slight step or two since then. Stroll, on the other hand, has shown flashes of brilliance throughout his career, but the rest of it has been littered with mistakes. The only word Stroll would be focusing on is consistency this season, because that seems to be what is missing in the final package. Finally, this season, if we have to make a pick, I'll back Sebastian Vettel to beat Lance Stroll. Vettel was not as consistent last season, but still had been able to pull off a few beautiful drives in that Aston Martin. This year, with a clearer mind and better preparation, it's hard to envision Vettel losing out to Stroll, and therefore I'm backing the German to win the intra-team battle this season. The two Alpine drivers had a close enough rivalry last season. Alonso seemed to edge it in the end, but the gap was not that much. This season, in my opinion, the battle is going to be even closer because Ocon has shown a tendency to make incremental improvements every season. Will that help him to beat Alonso in the standings? Well, if it was Alonso in the 30s, I would have said no. But, well, let's be fair, Alonso is in his 40s now, and although he still has a lot to give, it's not the same as his prime years. If we have to talk about a freak result, a race win or something, then I feel Alonso might be the man to do it. But over the season, I think Ocon is winning this one. Now moving to Alpha Tauri, we have Gasly and Tsunoda face up against each other yet again this season. While Tsunoda does appear to have his fitness up to par right now, Gasly has been on an exponential growth curve in the last few seasons. Gasly has youth, experience and the motivation of a future Red Bull seat on his side, while Tsunoda seems to ooze talent whenever he drives the car. This season, the battle is going to be much closer than what we had last season. However, well, gun to the head, if I have to make a prediction, I feel Gasly is going to be the better driver. Now coming to McLaren, this one is going to be interesting. I haven't seen Daniel Ricciardo struggle so much to be competitive even against Max Verstappen. This is exactly why I am going to put down the much emphatic defeat of Daniel Ricciardo against Lando Norris to the fact that the Australian was never comfortable with the car. Now coming into this season, one crucial limiting factor for Daniel Ricciardo is the fact that Ricciardo, well, he has missed the entire pre-season test at Bahrain. Now, if you're a driver that struggled because you are not accustomed with the car you had last season, then losing an entire test to COVID is probably the worst thing that could have happened to him. Having said that, this is a 23 race calendar and Ricciardo will have enough time to bounce back if he can. Now, the most important part of the statement is if he can, because if there is one thing that is obvious at McLaren right now, then that is the fact that the tide is running in favor of Lando Norris. The team has signed him up for a multiple-year deal, and with the way he drove last season, the team look at him as its future. And that is exactly why, while for this season, in the battle between the two McLaren drivers, I do feel that it won't be the same one-way traffic just like last season. The battle is going to be much closer this time around. Who will come out on top? My pick is Lando Norris, as the young driver is still on a learning curve and should make another step forward in his racing. Another spicy battle is going to be between the two Ferrari drivers, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. When Sainz was picked up by Ferrari, it did appear that he would prove to be an able deputy for Leclerc. However, probably to the surprise of everyone, including the team itself, Sainz had some pretty impressive moments in the Ferrari and ended up beating Leclerc in the standings. Leclerc will be aware of that and will be looking to cut down on his mistakes that cost him a lot of points last season. Now, in the battle between these two drivers, especially a battle that could potentially even be for the title, I am going with Leclerc. He is the better qualifier and racer of the two. And this season, I do feel that he will be able to cut down on his errors, and if that Ferrari is as good as it seems, he might be in contention to even win the title. Now coming to Red Bull, and with all due respect to Sergio Perez, this one is probably going to be one of the more one-sided battles of the entire season. Perez is a fantastic driver, without a doubt, but Max Verstappen is on his way to etch his name in the pantheon of greats. While I do feel that Perez might be able to put together a much improved performance compared to last season, I don't see him being too much of a headache for Verstappen in any which way. Now finally coming to Mercedes, and let's face it, this one is going to be interesting. Lewis Hamilton is a 7-time world champion and a Grand Prix elite. George Russell, on the other hand, is an upstart that is looking to make his mark on the sport. Lewis is, in all probability, in his second last season in Formula 1. His contract expires at the end of next season, and it doesn't look certain that he will be extending it in all likelihood. Russell, on the other hand, is looked at as the successor of Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. While Lewis has experience and breathtaking speed, unparalleled racing ability and years of proven class, Russell has youth, hunger, and to add to it, an exceptionally proven talent. While Lewis might suffer from maybe a lack of motivation or hunger after being so successful throughout the years, Russell has not been under those flashlights before, and they do tend to be the most uncomfortable. In the end, for the 2022 season, if we have to make a pick, although a very controversial choice, I feel George Russell is going to have an upper hand at the Mercedes. It's not going to be a clear-cut winner out of the two, as both will keep going back and forth throughout the season. But when it is all said and done, I feel it will be Russell, the hungrier driver, that is going to take over from the Mercedes legend. So these are my picks for this season. We will revisit these picks at the end of the season to see how many we were able to predict correctly and in how many of these we ended up with eggs on our faces. What are your picks? Do let me know in the comment section. Please hit the subscribe button, and thanks for watching. See you next time.